Well, good evening and welcome to Ladies Can We Talk. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We have a great show ahead of us, and we have actually starting in the next segment, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, which is going to be fun, talking about all the issues that we're all watching on the news surrounding national security and what's happening in Europe and around the world. But I want to do this first segment. I always do this first segment, my Speak Up for America segment, on one particular issue that I think really, as this theme of this show is always about the idea of learning again, relearning what made America great, why it's great, why it is unique, and then to re-embrace those ideas and support them. The thing I wanted to hit on tonight has to do with all the talk in this presidential election cycle about how to solve America's economic problems. And I want to go back, and there are many. We have an extraordinary number of Americans, 91 or 92 million of able-bodied working-age Americans who cannot find jobs. In fact, many of whom are not even looking for jobs. So we have people just simply unable to locate jobs. We have a stagnation in employment. And so we look at them with the presidential candidates on the American left. We have Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, what they're talking about. And then on the right, I want to talk particularly about the ideas that Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are talking about, because they really go to the heart of what is it? How do we create commerce, economy? How do we create a bustling economy where jobs are available? And I want to back up and tell you a quick story, and we're going to refer to it as we go through. So my husband and I and the kids, used to live in the Washington, D.C. area. And we visited a museum one time that was about the construction of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. And if you've ever been in that area, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge is really cool. It's massive. It's actually very pretty. And obviously it was a big step forward in helping people to go back and forth easily. But when the idea of the bridge was being discussed, the steamboat industry opposed construction of the bridge. They said, look at all the business we will lose because people need to ride the steamboat now to get from shore to shore. And if you build that bridge, we'll lose jobs in the steamboat industry, steamboat construction industry. So they were strongly opposed, and obviously progress must occur, and so the bridge got built. You can make the same kind of thing if you look at farming in America and just think that, in fact, I looked up the numbers back in 1870, 70 to 80% of America's population was employed in agriculture. Now, because of progress, developments, tractors, and all sorts of great farm equipment, it's under 2% of Americans employed in agriculture. And the reason I want to talk about that is this. The reason America is the most prosperous nation on earth is interwoven in the ideas of our founding. One of them simply was the idea of freedom of the individual, respect for the individual. That can-do American self-reliant spirit is part of what America is. It's what caused people to jump in, create new businesses, employ people, be entrepreneurial, and that is also interwoven with the idea of the laws of the free market, that free market principles simply exist. They weren't laws passed by anyone. You can't pass a law to change them. They simply exist. Now I want to talk about this presidential election cycle. We have a stagnant economy and stagnant employment, and people want answers. And they're looking to the federal government and to the candidates. So on the American left, Hillary Clinton, and even more so Bernie Sanders, are essentially saying, let us orchestrate the economy. Let us fix everything. If we get in there, we'll just force through increased minimum wage. We will force jobs to be created. We will, through taxation and redistributing wealth, force job creation. But that's never where jobs and prosperity ever came from. And it is really a miniature version of what happens in socialist economies, and even worse in communist economies, where there is never prosperity because the government cannot instill in the individual the entrepreneurial spirit. The government can move money around, they can pass laws that force people to pay certain wages or force businesses to do things, but at the end of the day, nothing that those governments do can ever create prosperity. But now I want to talk about the American right and what Donald Trump has been saying on the candidates on the American right. He's been talking about, and one of the main things he keeps talking about, jobs leaving America, all these Jobs have gone to foreign countries. We're doing manufacturing other places, and he's going to impose tariffs and do all sorts of things to force those companies to bring those jobs back here. It's the same evil or confusion of rejecting the laws of the free market that Hillary Clinton is embracing, and Bernie Sanders, when they're saying we're going to force wages to be different, and Donald Trump's doing a different kind of thing. Now, I'll say as a quick caveat, yes, we should get rid of any trade deals that say, that someone besides the United States Congress is imposing or creating laws that impact America. We don't give away our sovereignty to any entity. That has to be fixed. And we always have to in our trade deals. We always have to look at, is some other country manipulating currency? Try to fix that. Our country stealing our intellectual property in some way? We try to fix that. There are right places for law, but really, free markets in America, within our country, is a parallel with free trade on the international level. And this concept of imposing tariffs, let's say the car company that moved down to Mexico. So to fix that, Mr. Trump is saying, well, we're just going to impose a huge tariff. But stop and think what really happens when you do that. No country exists in a vacuum. They don't all of a sudden say, oh, a big tariff? Well, sure, go ahead and do that, and we won't react at all. They'll react with a battle or combative tariff. There will be, all you ever do is create competition and tariffs and a battle with tariffs. And the end of the day is, if you live in America and you wanted to buy that car manufactured in Mexico, and all of a sudden it costs more than it would have before the tariff, you, the government, are really hurting the American people, especially the poorest American people, the people who count on low-priced goods that they find in Walmart. Those low-priced goods exist because countries can manufacture them more cheaply than we can, and so they are sold to us and cost less money than if we made them here. These are basic laws of economics that even Donald Trump cannot change. So the whole idea of artificially manufacturing through force a change in prices doesn't really fix the problem in America. And one last thing I want to mention before I get things that do fix the problems is this whole concept that somehow manufacturing jobs in America can be brought back if we just in some way manipulate, force the companies that are American based to bring their manufacturing back here, force through tariffs things to happen. It's the same thing as the steamboat manufacturers were trying to say. We want you to freeze things the way they were and don't make progress, because the truth is the American economy is built on entrepreneurial cleverness, entrepreneurial brilliance. And so we're never going to go back to a time as we had in the 1940s with massive manufacturing in America. We have a combination of manufacturing jobs are on the decline around the world. Even in the poorest countries, they're on the decline because, as we all know, we've had automation, we have just more efficient manufacturing, we have things that replace other things, so we don't have the same needs. We can't get back the manufacturing of 1940 era any more than we can go back to the steamboat era and think that will somehow solve our problems. We have to solve the problems through the things that made America great to start with. Reliance on the individual. Respect for the individual's right to pursue his dreams and keep his money. Now, there are solutions that can help the American economy that do not interfere with freedom, free trade, free markets, and the individual. Things like Senator Cruz is suggesting, and I think to a degree that Mr. Trump is too, but talking about actually cutting taxes, especially corporate taxes. Make an environment where the individual will again be free to prosper. Make an environment where people who are incentivized to build a business can go ahead and do it. They're not afraid of the taxes and they're not afraid of the regulations. You can reduce regulations, you can reduce taxes, you can get the burden of government off the individual and let the entrepreneurs build businesses and let the masses of people looking for jobs find jobs in those businesses the entrepreneurs will create. Just think of this little detail, it's kind of interesting. Google did not exist until 1998. It now employs over 20,000 people. Brand new job no one ever heard of before 1998. Facebook didn't even start till 2004. Employs 7,000 people. There'll always be new ideas just like the Chesapeake Bay Bridge was a new idea. That's the way to bring jobs back to America. Not the Hillary method, not the Donald Trump method, the American method. Reduce taxes, reduce regulation, inspire the individual to be the best he can be. This is Debbie Georgatos. Ladies, can we talk? Do not go away, because right after this very brief break, we'll be joined by Lieutenant Colonel Alan West.